Hey, welcome to Make More Music, the podcast that connects people to music and one another. My name's Chris, and I'm a board-certified music therapist. Thank you for joining in on our first inaugural 3 episodes where we interview music and music-related field professionals and talk about their stories and what it's like to make a career in music. It's not all starving artists and rock stars. There is a middle ground. There are people that are making healthy careers in all kinds of different ways through the music field. And I just want to expose that a little bit, show that possibility, and honestly, hear some amazing stories. Today is no exception to that. I have a great colleague and friend, Tim Ringgold, MTBC, who is a music therapist who's doing a lot of things outside of the normal realm of what a music therapist does, like writing books, like giving TED Talks, like being a keynote speaker. And today he's also going to talk about his background and his rich life experiences, and also his amazing new project, Play More Music Workshop and Reach for Music, where he talks about integrating and reintegrating music into your life. I'll let him get more into that and those details, but this is going to be a great one, so sit back and enjoy. Cool deal. Well, Tim, I'm super glad we can chat. I first saw you, I don't know at what point exactly, but I think I was a student. I went to a few conferences. I went to Jacksonville, and then I went to Chicago. And then that year is when I went into internship. So around that time, I know you were presenting a lot at music therapy conferences. You had your TED Talk not too long before that. So I feel like I watched you ride this big wave at that time. And it was just really cool. And then that next year, I got to be on the local committee for conference. We were putting together a group of, honestly, I knew a bunch of dudes. So we put together a Men of Music Therapy group to do pre-conference. It was fun to have you sit in with us for a song. I think we did Ain't No Sunshine together, which was awesome.
That was super fun.
Yeah. So, man, it's been cool to watch your journey and hear a lot about all the cool stuff you're doing.
Thanks.
So before we dig into all that, because you do a lot between speaking and being a music therapist and running this business and writing books, take me way back to even when you're a young child. What are some of your first musical memories?
Well, I sang my first solo when I was 4. It was called I Want a Harmonica for Hanukkah. It was at my little, country Reading Elementary School in Connecticut, 7,000 population. My mom was the director of religious education at our little Catholic church in town, and her little son was singing about Hanukkah in the winter program in the public school. So there was comedy levels, galore.
That's pretty hilarious.
Right? So, cause it's cultural. So anyhow, yeah. And in fact, I was on a podcast this morning and they actually asked me to sing it, and I remembered it, which was just ridiculous, but it just points to how powerful memories, musical memories are, right? So
that's hilarious. Do you have a good video you can share of the 4-year-old Tim?
Bro, this is 1976, so we are long before video, thankfully.
And no camcorders. Oh,
no,
man.
Yeah, I'd be Super 8 at that point, probably, right? There's no audio anyway, so I'm safe.
Yeah, cool. I won't make you do it again.
No, it's one of those songs where the choir sings the chorus and then I sing the verses, and they're one line each. And it was I could play the trumpet, but that's not right for me. I could play the saxophone, but I'd much rather be. And then they go into the chorus, and that was my 10, 15 minutes.
Wow.
My
4 years old, huh?
4 years old. And, it just was one of those things where I don't know how it happened that I was the soloist, right? I just was the soloist. So then from that point on, I was a soloist. I was singing solos at choir concerts or in church every year. And so I've been on stage. I'm 47 now. I've been on stage for 43 of those 47 years. So when I'm playing music and I'm in front of people, or if I'm just in front of people, I genuinely am at home. Like it's perfectly natural for me.
I mean, that's not too long after being up and walking,
Yeah.
So
that's it. Just slightly less accomplished, is my walking skills.
Wow. That explains a lot about your personality too. I feel like that's pretty awesome. So what other instruments and stuff are you picking up along the way? Well, getting into adulthood and stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I did the obligatory piano lessons with the scary, church lady, pianist.
Did you get the ruler?
She had the hose, the thick hose, and the black soled shoes, and the like polyester skirt, and I can smell the mothballs on the sweater. I can still smell it. She drove an AMC car. If you remember, AMC was a brand of cars. And I just dreaded my music lessons on piano and just couldn't stand it. And then, so that was short-lived from 8 till 10. And then when I was 15, I picked up my dad's classical guitar and I learned how to play Wish You Were Here on one string. Awesome. Literally one string, figured it out. And
that's my favorite Pink Floyd song on my favorite Pink Floyd album.
No way.
It's so great. Yeah.
So that, and I was super into classic rock in high school. So I was in high school, my freshman year was the graduating class. It was 1987. I graduated high school in 1990.
So we had a little recording snafu here and some connectivity issues. So we switched over to Skype. So don't be jarred by the sound quality changing just a little bit. We hop right back into the conversation now.
And didn't know what I was doing, but classic rock radio had just become a format. And the nearest radio station in my house, a classic rock radio station. So it was the clearest on the dial, and that's really dating myself. So it's 1987, 1988. And since I'm 14, all I listen to is classic rock because someone brought a Led Zeppelin tape on a Boy Scout camp out trip, and it was Physical Graffiti, and I heard Kashmir and 10 Years Gone, and that was it. It was all over.
You were in, huh?
Yeah, my whole world expanded, right? Because classic rock is just amazing. So yeah, I learned guitar to accompany myself since I was a singer. And when I was in high school, I went to a new private school in a different town. And so in order to kind of find my place in the new social hierarchy, if you will, bringing an acoustic guitar to the parking lot wherever everyone was parking for the party or to the house party and being able to play classic rock songs for everyone to sing along or for me to sing was kind of like my way to find my place in a new social circle.
So you said Led Zeppelin. Who are some other big influences at the time?
Yeah. So the three bands that were the biggest was Led Zeppelin was number 1, Pink Floyd was number 2, The Who was number 3.
Ooh, solid. Yeah, I got a guitar for Christmas in middle school, and right after that, I fell down to Jimi Hendrix, AC/DC, and then I got really into the Misfits. I was really big into punk. So, yeah. Things went down the rabbit hole fast. So. Do you start joining any bands, or are you doing organized band at school or anything like that?
Well, while I was in high school, I was still very much choir boy by day. And I went to England on tour with the choir. I went to Italy and sang for the Pope. I gave a solo in St. Peter's Square when I was 16 in front of 13,000 Catholic pilgrims who had come from all over the world. And there's His Holiness Pope John Paul II on his throne, and there's my choir, and I'm singing a solo. So that kind of music was still very choral music was still very high on the radio, on the whatever the scale was. I lived in a really small town. Wasn't easy to connect with other musicians. There weren't a lot of us. So my friend John McHale and I would both destroy cover songs on our acoustic guitars and sing horribly, but it was real podunk where I lived in the woods, and so there wasn't really anything too organized happening for quite, probably until I got into college. And when I went off to college, I joined a cover band that was a classic rock and kind of, rock band, and as the singer, called In Limbo.
Ooh,
and
that's a great name. I always love hearing the band's names that people were in.
Right?
Yeah.
Great band names. So that was the first time I was in a quote unquote real band. And I got a taste for, singing rock and roll and playing in a rock band and all the accoutrements that come with it, let's just say. So then, I guess from there, fast forward, I'm in college, trying to, music's fun. I realized at a certain point, I remember actually I was 22. I came out to my family as a musician.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, my family thought it was like a hobby or a phase. And it dawned on me like, no, I have to do music.
This is it. Yeah.
This is what I have to do to maintain my sanity. And I am a prep school kid from like the bubble of Connecticut, Fairfield County, let's go play lacrosse and then polo. and I worked at the Greenwich Country Club. And
it's like Gilmore Girls, like, for real.
Yeah, totally. My family was devastated. They were like, what went wrong? Must have been drugs, and
it was that harmonica for Hanukkah.
Yeah, that's what it was. They that was the gateway drug right there.
Should have sang a Catholic song.
That's right.
That's it.
And they were really like, it was not cool. Like I went off to college. I could have gone full ride on music. But my family was like, you're not going to be a music teacher. That's below you. You're, blah, blah, blah. Wow. They were really snobby. And so I didn't go as a music major. And ironically, my family like ran out of money and we went foreclosed, bankrupt. My parents got divorced all over money. And I was like, guys, I can't be who you want me to be. I need to be me. And so I moved cross country to Phoenix, Arizona, and went for it in the music business. And I mean, I went for it. And so I started a band with another guy, industrial heavy metal, really heavy, really dark, but with a spiritual bent. So the whole idea was our thing, both of us were recovering Catholics, and we had like lost our taste for organized religion, like many 20-something-year-olds do. But we still had like a sense of spirituality, like want to be connected to something bigger than us. And so we used the music as that bridge between us and something bigger. And we like literally straight up ministered to like goth and industrial kids. Like, listen, you don't need the middleman. If you want to have a connection with something bigger than you, you can have that connection personally between the two of you. And music's the great conduit to make that happen. And I had a kid tell me one time, listen, man, you saved my life. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I got hooked on meth and I got depressed, and you're not sure if it was one, triggered the other. And I got suicidal, and I got to a point where I was planning my suicide. And then there was a night that I was going to carry it out. And I was in my bedroom, and your CD came on my disc changer. And I thought about you, and I thought about Eddie, my singer. And I thought about how sad you guys would be if I killed myself. So I didn't. Wow. And I just listened to your music instead. And that really taught me, that was like one of those, formative, I've had a couple of formative experiences where music saved the day in real, like straight up. And I have heard stories over and over working in treatment for addiction and mental health. I've heard countless stories of people saying, this song kept me alive. This band kept me alive. This artist kept me alive.
Speaking of, isn't that so funny when you consider, like, I'm sure you're very keenly aware of like the 80s and the Satanic Panic and the playing the records backwards. Isn't it so funny to think about that, like what we see as music therapists compared to what sometimes gets sensationalized in the media and things like that?
Totally. And parents, like they have amnesia, dude. Like they forget how much their music pissed off their parents
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
adolescents, right? And it's like, what happened? Don't you remember Elvis's pelvis? It was the
Yeah.
big. It was like they couldn't even show it on TV,
Yeah.
and like suddenly, he's glorified in
And his
past
home
tense.
is a national landmark. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Meanwhile, the guy totally culturally appropriated rhythm and blues,
A lot of blues.
works.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like straight up ripped it off and didn't even pretend to change it. And like people glorify the guy. And I'm like, that's I just try to remind parents, just remember the moment you go to like crucify your kid for the music they're listening to, just think back to what your parents said to you about your music and you turned out fine. So just chill out on your kids. They're going through a lot. They're in adolescence. It's a hot mess in between the ears. Hormones are running wild, totally emotionally dysregulated. They need something that won't scold them or lecture them. And right now, that's their music. And that's why they're in their bedroom and not in the living room with you. Sorry.
That's good. That's good. So you're doing it. You're going after it. So you're in this band. Are you doing other projects at this time? Or you said you kind of have a little bit of an engineering background too. So are you getting into other aspects of production or anything like that too?
Only as far as so I could talk intelligently when recording our own stuff. Because there was that first time we went into the recording studio and I'd never taken an audio engineering class. And I didn't know what to do, where to stand, how to talk. I was so like embarrassed and intimidated as an artist. And I was like,
and the red light comes on and you freak out. Yeah.
I was so in over my head, dude. And I was like, I never want to feel this way again. The next time I go into a recording studio, I want to feel calm, cool, collected, confident, right? I'm about to lay down my material. I want to feel good.
Sometimes embarrassment does you good.
Yeah, it's a motivator, right? Because you're like, ooh, I don't want to feel that way again.
Yeah, that was very painful.
Yeah, I'm going to pivot. Like, what do I need? And so I immediately started taking like community college courses in audio engineering, and with no concern for getting a degree. Just so like, and so I would take music business classes, like electronic. I don't even know what the name of the class was. It was like called electronic music, but basically it was like how to program using what do we even call them back in the day? Workstations, like computer, like sequencers that were keyboards that you could sequence on, and then sequencing software. Early days of MIDI, right?
Yeah, and early DJ tools and stuff like that.
Yeah, just wanting to know the tools of the trade, because I was very clear. It was very clear in my head that my future was in music, and that I had everything I needed inside of me. I just, in terms of like drive, motivation, my why, and I just need some knowledge, right? So I feel more comfortable when I'm so. But I never went so far as to say like, oh, that's where I'm going to set up shop. Because what I noticed, a lot of my colleagues, they started getting jobs in the industry in like ancillary jobs. So they'd either be rigging, like doing roadie work, right? Or lighting work or recording work. And for me, my Clark Kent day job to earn the money, I was in sales and marketing because over the phone, I sounded normal. In person, I did not look normal, but over the phone, I sounded like a clean cut guy. And in sales, you can buy back your time really fast. So I could spend more time on the band. So I never compromised like working, because I never wanted to see myself, and I didn't want anyone else to see me in an ancillary role in the industry. I wanted people to see me on stage. And so that was the only place. Like you see me, and it begins this perception thing, right? Like, and it was the only place. It was like a standard for myself. Like the only place I'm going to make a buck is when I'm on stage. And sure enough, many of my friends to this day have their lighting designer jobs or their roadie jobs or their audio engineer jobs. They kind of fell into that because that was the steady pay. And for me, the irony is like I'm still making music, but I'm not on stage. I'm in a clinic, or I am on stage, but it's a stage with 800 people at a conference, or 50 people at a conference, or 20 people at a retreat. And so I'm still on stage. I'm on probably 20 stages a year as a speaker, And then for me in the clinic, that's like some of the most transformational work that happens is as a music therapist, because you see the difference the music's making in real time, right? You don't wonder. But there was also a side of it that is why, when we'll get to it, why my career is morphed from a traditional music therapist, because I was working in a hospital, working with cancer patients with music, and I did a year's worth of work. I collected all the data, and I saw 500 people that year. And the average number of times I saw them was 1.3. And it was like this transaction that was happening. And I was like, you know what? There is a lot more than 500 people a year that need this. And I need to find a way to be able to reach, start adding zeros, right? I need to reach 5,000 people. I need to reach 50,000, 500,000. My ultimate goal that I'm playing is to affect 1 million people a year, every year.
Wow.
So that's the long-term vision of my company. And I could only scale that so well when I'm in a clinic with 6 or 8 people at a time, or, that's going to top.
Yeah.
Right. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
So
kind of bridging the gap a little bit between the two, walk me through I know you have a super interesting story, and you've got the story of your daughter, you get the story of battling your own addictions, you've had some other crazy circumstances. You can fill in the gaps however you want, but how do you get from this guy in sales who's supporting his music career to you had already had those moments. You already knew, like, it sounds like you had that music therapy, like the light bulb came on because you already knew those things in your heart. So how do you get to where you're going back at a later time to go to music therapy school? And then we'll get into what that looks like now.
Sure. So, being in the music industry is brutal. I'm in the music industry in 1997 is when I dipped into it officially. And then in 2001, my band was poised. Like, our entertainment lawyer represented P. Diddy, J-Lo, Whitney Houston, Tommy Lee, Slipknot, and us. And so we were right there. And then 2 things happened in 2001, 9/11. 9/11 crushed the live music industry in the United States. And then Napster, which was the file sharing software. And in the record industry, in 1 year, the entire industry, and this is a multi-hundred, billion-dollar industry, the industry was growing. It was posting about like 11% year-over-year growth as an industry in terms of profit. In 1 year, 50% of the growth was cut in half.
That's because I was downloading DMX and Eminem and Blink 182. That was because I was like a 10 to 14-year-old downloading tons of music.
Totally. And then when LimeWire came out, I was using LimeWire and then
Kazaa and then
Kazaa. Yeah. Ooh, wow. Take me back.
And then the torrent websites after that. Yes. Man.
So yikes. So the record industry changed, and 18 platinum artists got dropped that year.
Wow.
Imagine that. 18 platinum artists got dropped from their label in 1 year. So nobody's signing bands at this point, particularly heavy music that's not super radio friendly, slam dunk. And I'm looking at the future of technology disrupting the music industry, and I'm like, I do not know where this is going. And at the same time, I'm engaged, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so we read this book as an engaged couple about like the hard questions. Like every question, 100 questions every couple should, ask before tying the knot. And my wife had her MBA. She's a corporate guru. She could totally see her career. All I saw was a black hole. So she said, hey, if you want to go back to school, we can afford it. So that night I got on Arizona State University's website, because that was the nearest school to me. And I scrolled through their index of majors starting at A, just to see if anything would be interesting. And I'm an athlete also. So I used to work in physical therapy, and I thought that was going to be my career for a while. But after a couple of years working in it, I got bored because it's just tissue and it's not the emotions and it's not the soul. But then as I'm scrolling, I hit music therapy. And it's the first time I'd ever seen those two words put together. And I was like, shut up. Right. So I click on it, And it's got two paragraphs. One reads what you do, and the other one's like the type of person you are. Top paragraph reads like my dream job. Bottom paragraph reads like an autobiography.
It's wild.
And I knew. I was like, that's it. And so I filled out my online application and my FAFSA, it still sitting in front of that same computer. And literally the trajectory of my life changed in that moment, and I've never looked back. And so I applied to school, got in to the school, but then you have to audition. I'd been drinking and smoking for 10 years. I failed the audition. So then I drop out. I get a vocal coach for a year. I sing private lessons. I sing every single day in my car. I don't listen to music in my car for a year. I fail the audition again.
Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile, there's this little tiny liberal arts school in Southern California that has a music therapy program. It's 10 times the tuition. And I apply, and I my solo is great that day, and I get in with a scholarship. And wow. I look up to God and I'm like, you want me to move to California? You know that it's Arizona State's 10 minutes away and it's a tenth of the tuition. And in no uncertain terms, God said to me, listen, you got to trust me. He goes, when you go skiing and you get to the bottom of the hill, can you see the top of the hill from when you get on the lift? No, of course not. Cause you see just the first steep part and then it opens way up. Right. And he's like, so he goes, I won't tell you what the view looks like at the top. I can see what the view looks like, but I'm not going to tell you.
You want to get on? Let's go. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. You just got to trust me and you got to get on the lift. And that was the phrase, get on the lift.
Love it.
And so we moved to California, packed up our bags, rented out our house, and went for it. Went back to school full time, 4.5 years in my 30s. My wife supported us. God love her. Couldn't have done it without her. And then, interned in San Diego, 90 miles away, went to a sister church in San Diego, literally went to their choir practice one night and went to service one Sunday morning, was like, hi, I'm Tim. I'm from a sister church in Orange County. I'm going to be interning. Does anybody have a place I can stay? Someone gave me their home for 6 months to live in. It was doors just kept opening and things kept happening. And it was like, Chris, it's like when you're crystal clear, not only about what you want to do, but why you want to do it. Mm. When you're just crystal clear about that, my experience in my life has been that just doors swing open.
I would totally agree.
And when they don't swing open, I kick them down with very little effort, and then they swing the opposite direction. Okay, boom, I'm through, because nothing is going to stop me. And because I know why this is important, I know what it is. And it's almost like you have this antenna, and this is going to sound kind of woo, but you have this antenna, and it's transmitting a very, very clear signal to the universe. And the universe is like, oh, I get that. Okay, you need this then, and you need this, and you need to meet this person. And when you're just crystal clear like that, it just seems like clarity causes action.
Yeah, I would echo that in all the things that we've done in my family and all of that too. It's always the same. If I'm hitting a door that's not opening, it's not right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've tried to walk through some doors. I tried really hard to go get my PhD. It seemed like the next right step, and just for some reason it was not time, and it ended up being an awesome decision. So
nice.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm just over here hands up in the air, yes, preach. All right, so you do internship, and you went through. You're one of the Music Works alums, right?
That's it. Yep.
All right, so you work with that great team, and then you get a hospital job, right? And that's where we left off, right?
Yeah. Cool.
So you're in California now, right?
Yes.
You're a Californian at that point.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I live and work in California to this day. I haven't left yet.
There you go.
Can't escape.
So, what are some of the things that made you shake things up? Because you were doing the very traditional music therapy thing. Yep. But you're also not a very traditional guy. You look at a problem and you've got that entrepreneurial edge and spirit about you. So you start busting through some walls there. What are the first things that start happening for you?
What I noticed was in my clinical work and that music therapists don't get any business education for how to conduct themselves as employees or as entrepreneurs. And by that point, when I became a music therapist, I had probably been in sales and marketing in some way, shape, or form for about 20 years. So, because it started like all the way, way, way back in high school. So I'm looking around and like, there's nothing for us to understand how to advocate and build value and market what we do because, music therapy isn't a term that's understood. The value of music therapy isn't understood in the nation's lexicon yet. So I was like, here's a great opportunity. This is amazing, in fact, because for those of us who are savvy, we actually are the ones defining the value.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you say insurance broker, people have an idea of what insurance broker means and like the world that is. You say music therapist, no one has any idea what that is. So you get to actually paint that picture for any agency, organization, or individual, which is a tremendous opportunity as I see it.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because when I came into the field, there was all this like advocacy fatigue.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it because attitude is everything. And there's this great story. It's a made up story, but it's a story to talk about attitude. And the story goes, two salesmen are on a plane flying in over the continent in Africa. They're landing in, somewhere in West Africa. As they're landing, they see a bunch of villagers running up the airstrip. None of them are wearing shoes. One of the salespeople gets on his cell phone, calls back, says, get me the next plane out of here. Nobody's wearing shoes. The other salesperson says, send me every sample we have. This is amazing. Nobody wears shoes. And it's a really interesting story because depending on how you look at the situation, you either see no opportunity or the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
And so what I've heard in the music therapy world is a lot of no opportunity because we're so small. Nobody knows who we are. It's so hard, yada, yada, yada.
The fatigue you said of just
fatigue,
responding to that. What do I do all the time?
Known.
Or
Yeah. And people like expecting that the world's going to open their doors like, oh, come right in. I know everything about you. No, you should know by now, if you're going into the field of music therapy, nobody knows what you do, including your family. So
yeah, you didn't already know that? You haven't answered that enough during undergrad Christmases and stuff like that.
Nailed it.
Yeah, true.
That's the nature of it. So for me, I saw that as the, oh my God, send all the samples. Nobody's wearing shoes. We get to be the first. Like we're category of one everywhere we go. I'm the expert everywhere I go. There is no one on this planet who isn't a music therapist who has more training than me on how to utilize music in a therapeutic way.
Mm-hmm.
No one. So everywhere I go, I'm the expert. But in our field, the bachelor feels like they don't know as much as the master's level or the PhD. The master's level prepared person doesn't think they don't know as much as the PhD. The PhD person doesn't know as much as the person who's the professor. The professor doesn't know. Everyone's looking up. And what they realize is everywhere they go, every room they walk into out in the public, they know more than everybody in that room.
But they got their head hung down.
They're so tired of just being like, I have to explain this again. Yeah. Let me put it another way. You get to walk into any room and declare yourself an expert on a subject that everyone in the room loves.
They think it's awesome.
They think it's awesome. They already have a very personal, powerful relationship with music. And you're walking in and going, well, guess what? I know how to deploy that to help people from preterm infants to the actively dying. Boom. What would you like to talk about? How can I help your organization? What? And so, like that for me was mind blowing. So I immediately started preaching at conferences, like every single conference, I'm speaking at every conference, trying to speak into that to help music therapists see the opportunity that we have.
That was definitely, sorry to interrupt. That was definitely where I first came into you as like, it was either a student or a young professional. And I was like, man, this guy is just giving it straight. His attitude, his charisma, and just the whole like that attitude is exactly what I like. Like, don't take yourself too seriously, but on the same level, like you've got to show up. You can't expect people to know what you do.
Nope.
You know, you've got to, you've got to advocate for yourself.
Yep.
So,
yep.
I love it.
That's been my mission. So when I first got on LinkedIn, my job title was Ambassador of Music Therapy. Because I saw that in my internship, I saw that I'm good at doing music therapy, but I'm really good at actually talking about music therapy. And so early on, like in my internship, we had to give a presentation every month for 6 months. And I got really comfortable talking about music therapy and presenting on it. And then in 2013, I think I'm, 5 years in, I get hired to speak at a medical conference. And they say to me, okay, so faculty are paid a day rate of $1,500, and you're going to give a 1-hour presentation. And I said, wait, what? And they're like, so you're telling me you're going to pay me $1,500 to give a presentation? And they're like, yep. And I was like, I don't make a tenth of that when I actually do what I do.
Yeah, like, hold on.
Yeah, I had an ethical issue with it. And the gal said to me, yeah, but you're not a music therapist at the conference. You're a faculty. You're a speaker. Speakers get paid X. Music therapists get paid Y. So there will be a speaker at this conference at this hour in this room talking on their subject, and they're going to get paid $1,500. Would you like that person to be you? And I said, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm going to just kick open that door right there.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, I am a speaker. And suddenly the distinction speaker versus music therapist became clear to me. So if you go to timringgold.com, what you see there is a speaker. You don't see a music therapist, because now organizations pay me, Lord knows the math, right? But like, I'll be going out speaking at medical conferences this year for $5,000 and $10,000 a talk for an hour, right? Because that's what they're going to pay somebody to talk about something at some point, right? So someone's going to get a check with their name on it for $5,000 or $10,000 because that's what's in the budget for that conference already. They're going to talk on some subject. Someone's going to be in the room on that stage. Might as well be me, because everywhere I go, I get to educate another room about the value of music therapy, and they pay me a ton to do it. And so why more music therapists don't add this to their arsenal, I'm not sure. But I for my own journey, I get it. It's like you don't even know it's out there. You don't even know it's possible, right? Like, oh, that's possible. So that lit me up, right? So starting in 2013, I started giving talks in the medical community about music therapy. And then I would have a slide. In my slide deck, it's the logo for the AMTA, and it says musictherapy.org. And I say, and if you think that music therapy would be appropriate for you or the people you serve, just go to this website, type in your zip code, and you can find a music therapist in your area. Boom. Job done. Seed planted, right? Deliver value, make a connection, and then they take the next step. And so everywhere I go, I'm educating, right, the world about the value of music therapy. And that's been pretty cool. And then there was like, okay, how can we help even more people, right? So how can we continue to scale this? And a number of my entrepreneur friends are active online, creating online membership communities. And I really wanted to test to see the limits of technology in music therapy. And I've really been interested to see if I could deliver one of my groups online. So this past year, I did a beta test. So I ran a course, Sonic Recovery, Harness the Power of Music for your mental health. And it's based on my book, Sonic Recovery, Harness the Power of Music to Stay Sober. I took 5 of my music therapy clinical sessions and I delivered them over Zoom to a group of people who paid to be in the course.
Wow.
And it worked. All the interaction, all the feedback, all the response that I was getting in the group was exactly the same level of interaction that I was having in a physical space. My mind was like,
yeah,
this will work. So now what we're doing is we've created an online community, and it's to get people to play more music. And this is why we're so aligned right now. It's crazy, because my workshop starts, I don't know when it even starts, like tomorrow, is called Play More Music. So I just thought it was hilarious when you sent me an email. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are like a hive mentality. Like we are totally tapping into that same frequency right now.
Something right now,
so,
for sure.
So the whole idea behind this, we do in the book, there's a 40-day of play challenge. And so in the book, at the end of the book, I give you all the ways to make music, all the ways to engage with it easily. And I challenge the reader to play with music for 40 days straight, 10 minutes a day. You can either make it, listen to it, write it, or relax to it. 10 minutes a day. And we gave away a grand prize, $2,000 shopping spree for their instruments of their choice to the winner this past year. And we have our first winner. Super cool. And so people kept track and then wrote about the difference making music on a daily basis made. And the transformation was insane. Like what people talked about, the particularly professional, like music educators and music therapists who were working music and stopped playing music. So, well, like when was the last time you just played for yourself on an instrument where you weren't prepping material or, actually delivering a group? I had stopped a long time ago. So now just getting people to jam. Look at that thing right there.
There's my pedal steel guitar right behind you there. That's
it.
That's my thing.
That's it, right? So just playing again. And people were like, oh my God, I'm starving. I didn't realize how empty my tank was. And all the burnout they were feeling was because they were working music. They weren't playing it. That distinction, it's night and day, right? All the magic,
Absolutely.
the whole reason we got into the field as an educator or a therapist was the joy that we felt from playing it from early on.
Yeah.
And then we lost the joy when we turned it into our job. And it's easy to do, but it's not irreversible. You just need some structure, and you need a little bit of accountability and a little bit of community, and it's transformational.
That's amazing.
We've launched what's called Reach for Music, and it's our exclusive online community. It's for successful working professionals with letters after their name they've got stress at work because they're doing well. They got stress at home because they got family, and they have stopped reaching for their instrument and they've started reaching for their phone or for the fridge or the Netflix button or for the wine bar. And they don't think they have the time, but really all they're missing is the structure. And so we're providing in this group the accountability they had when they had private lessons and the community they had when they were in music school without the headache of learning.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think just that whole simplicity of it, I think there's so much talk in the world about, ways for self-care and, the 10-step process, the 30 things you need to do. And it's like, take 10 minutes, play.
That's it.
You are a being that was made to play. That's why children learn that way. Adults learn that way too.
Yes.
Why do people have hobbies?
Yes.
It's play.
Yes.
It's not work. So I think that's amazing. So what can people do if they want to look into Reach for Music, and what does that look like as far as the community? Is this like a message board? How does the community interact with each other?
Oh, it's brilliant, man. So again, simplicity. So we have every week, the group we send out a play prompt for the week. So here's a starter. If you can't think of what to play, here's a fun kind of quiz for just what to focus on this week with your play. And then in our Facebook group, because of technology, the members can Facebook Live themselves jamming as a showcase. So what we've created is a sober online virtual coffee shop where we can have our own open mic nights, and we can Facebook Live in us jamming on whatever we want. And then everybody else in the group loves all over that little whatever you played. And then those who missed it live get to watch the replay of it because obviously it's in there, and then they love on it. And so you're in a 100% supportive environment to get back in touch with that play. And so the rules are listen daily, play regularly, share weekly, and then watch monthly. So go see live music once a month, get back into the rhythm of live music, because for a lot of us, just through atrophy because of family and work, we've stopped going to shows on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we had a falling out with live music. We just stopped going. So all you need is just this assignment, like pick a gig, go to see a show once a month, get back in. Because once you get back into the rhythm of like the promoters in your area, like what their email list is, what magazines they advertise, what shows are coming into town, it's really easy to get back into the rhythm. It's also just really easy to slip out of it. So just having a little bit of structure where we gather from the comfort of our own house and we come together. Thank you, Facebook, and thank you, Facebook Live, that technology. And we get to support each other from our homes, because I don't have time. Like, it's not that I don't have time. I'm just at a point in my life where I don't want to, like, I don't drink. So I don't want to go to a bar to open mic night. I just don't want to be around that. And just with like, I love my kids. So I really don't want to like leave the house and say, sorry guys, I'm out for the night because I'm going to spend the next 5 hours at a club or at a bar or at a coffee shop without you.
Yeah.
But I can go into my studio, which is in my garage, and I can open up Facebook Live and I could plunk down this cool thing that I've been working on this past week in 10 minutes, post it, and I can be back. And that's all while my wife's still cooking dinner.
Awesome. And I love what you're saying too, that interconnectivity again, and that simplicity of like, it doesn't have to be a big production. I can have both. I can have my family. I can choose to be and stay sober. I can choose music, and it's not one or the other. It's not these mutually exclusive things. And I think as simple as it is, you obviously are aware, you got to beat people over the head with it sometimes to make it stick.
Yep.
Because how much is culture? How much is the pace of work and stress controlling that?
Yeah, totally. And so this group is really around stress is the factor, is that like everybody reaches for something when they get stressed. And in our modern culture, everybody's running around chronically stressed, which we're not designed to be. So it's really not healthy physically or mentally. Yeah. So this is a really easy habit, and it's a really powerful habit. And it's sometimes we mistake simplicity for like something's really simple, then it must not be very powerful. And yet, like, brushing your teeth is really simple. Stop brushing your teeth. You'll notice how important it is to brush your teeth.
Yeah. I love it. I love the Charles Duhigg of it behind it all.
Yes. And my man. That's so great.
It's so aside from reach for music, what other things do you got going on as we kind of get towards, I've already held you a long time. So as we start getting towards wrapping things up, what are kind of the other things you have going on in the near future, or you want people to keep an eye on?
So the two things that I'm most excited about are, one, my book, Sonic Recovery. It's on Amazon. 100% of the proceeds.
It's cheap too.
Yes, thank you. I mean,
I saw it. I was accessible. Like, man, what a reasonably priced book. It's like, this is awesome.
Yes, we wanted it to be very accessible. And the proceeds of it go to the Genius Recovery Foundation, which is a nonprofit that is advancing the latest best practices in addiction treatment. So this is really very much a passion project for me. The book, like, I'm not making a buck on the book, but the book, like, so one of my bands from back in the day, one of our fans OD'd 2 months ago, and I'm so sad he didn't have my book. Because if he had my book, it's literally a roadmap for, as a fan, how to use music to help you when you're suffering. And so if whoever's listening to this, if you or someone you love is suffering with addiction or is in recovery, this book it's just a must have, because no one else has taken the time to show why music is a vital part of addiction treatment and recovery in ways that talk therapy falls short.
Yeah.
And so I did my due diligence. This book is very well researched. It's just, you'll see, it's a really good blend of stories from my own personal life, from my clinical experience, from research. And so I want people, just go get the book. It's on Amazon, Sonic Recovery. And then just go to the workshop. Like, you'll learn more. You'll hear more from me about music and stress and how easy I give really, easy, simple, tiny habits that you can do on a daily basis to lower your stress with music. And people can just go to playmoremusicworkshop.com. It's just literally just playmoremusicworkshop.com. Go there, and then that will put you that'll let you know about the special Reach for Music community. We're launching that January 27th. We're doing a very limited founders launch where we take the price of it, cut it in half, one time only. Everybody get in and let's get playing, because everybody that's listening to this, you've got hopes, you've got dreams, and you also have cell phones, which are going to distract you from those hopes and dreams. And we're going to teach you how to reach for music instead. Get back in touch with that play that you love.
Man, that's awesome. I've loved hearing all these stories. I've loved hearing your current projects, and you've already answered my two main questions, which usually at the podcast I like to end with how and why do you inspire others to make more music. You've already told us a lot of how, but I want you to just give us the Babe Ruth home run swing and tell me why. Why is it important? Why do you inspire others to make more music?
Listen, my 5 best friends were murdered when I was 22 years old in 1995. And I was in hell. It was the worst experience of my life. I sang a song to say goodbye at 5 funerals in 4 days.
Oh.
And it was brutal. And the night of the last funeral, I went to see music. I went to a show. And for the first 2 hours, I was at peace. And no amount of drugs, alcohol, pornography, TV, cable took away the pain. And trust me, I tried them all during that week to try to numb out. Nothing worked but music. So music transported me out of the darkest moment of my life. I know what's possible with music. And so I also know that everybody's busy, and it's really easy for music to just slide out of existence. I know how easy it is. So I feel like it's my mission to just create the opportunities for people to have music be that close friend that it was so long ago when they were growing up. Have that relationship again, have that ecstasy of when you nail that solo or you hit that note or, you play that piece of music, like that joy, that presence in the moment, that connection. Anybody who's ever experienced that knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so I just want to reconnect people with those kind of epic experiences on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember when I was 14, I think I'd been playing guitar 1 year at that time. And I was, 13-year-old playing guitar. You play 8 hours a day.
Sure.
At that point. So I remember about a year in, I spent a solid month and I learned Eruption. And I was like,
yes.
I remember I was like, that's it. I'm never getting better than this. Thankfully, I continued and I'm still getting better. But to me, that's always one of those first moments where I was like, I've reached the mountaintop.
That's right.
With very bad tone and poor technique, I can play Eruption.
Yes, but you felt like a stud when you did it, right? You felt so good. You're like, oh, that moment, and it's like for athletes, it's like if they've ever scored a goal or hit a home run or scored a touchdown in a big game, that joy, that high peak moment of ecstasy of performance, like musicians and athletes, we have a lot in common. And, like you can have that experience on a daily basis with music. It's really actually not that hard. It's just not done that often. And it just takes a little bit of accountability and a little bit of community, and baby, it's back.
Well, you've spoken a lot about how I think, for lack of a music therapy better term, like a layperson who doesn't use music in a clinical sense can apply music in their life. But can you, before we get into the quick six, the fast questions at the end, can you just talk right now to the person who's listening, the music therapist who, is tired of explaining what music therapy is over and over, or thinks that doing something like you're doing, speaking, writing a book, any of these amazing kind of things you are doing and have done, what would you tell that person who might be scared or might be discouraged?
Oh man, life is short. If you are feeling fear, intimidation, hesitation, lean into that. Like just lean right into that. Because there will always be some headwind in your life. You're always going to there's going to be like an edge, a comfort edge, so you have your comfort zone, but then there's going to be an edge where that zone ends. That's where growth, that's where satisfaction lives. Satisfaction lives on the other side of that edge. Satisfaction does not live in the comfort zone. You do not feel satisfied in the comfort zone. You don't feel anything. And after a while, you notice, you're like, I'm walking around, but I'm living, but am I alive? Like, what's going on? Or I'm alive, but am I living? So like, I'm 47 years old and I am up at 5:30 every morning. I am passionate about what I'm doing. I'm fired up about what I do. And I think that's because I have learned, I've just trained it's like a muscle. I've just trained myself, just lean in to wherever that edge is. The satisfaction on the other side is so gratifying. It's so rewarding. And you will at some point look back on it all. You'll look back because you'll run out of tomorrows. And on that day, you are not going to want to regret what you didn't do. And my dad died young when I was 25 in hospice. And in 1997, and he said, I don't remember what my bonus was in 1982, but on this particular night, he was listening to us playing and having fun out in the living room. And he was in the bedroom, and he's like, listening to you all out there, I realized a raised family loves each other, and that's what's most important. And I just got so clear that there's going to be a day in my life where I don't have a tomorrow, and I'm going to look back in the rearview mirror, and I'm going to hope that I did everything I always wanted to do and I didn't chicken out. And so I just live my life that way. And, I think that's, for me, like the satisfaction of trying and pushing and always leaning in. It's wonderful. Like, I feel like there's as much today, 11 years into my field and my profession, there is as big of a joyful playground of possibility today for what I can do in music therapy as there was the day I got board certified, because that's the way I see it. Yeah.
Just, living in the abundance that's right in front of you.
Oh my God, bro, there is so much more work available as a music therapist in this country than you could possibly deliver. The only thing that's missing is your mindset. Because what I'm about to release in 2020, I have been trying to figure out, like, where the lack of abundance is. It's in the number of music therapists to deliver all the music therapy. That's where the lack of abundance is. It's not in the opportunities to deliver music therapy. So if you think there's a lack of opportunities to deliver music therapy, what there's a lack of is mindset, because you need to open your eyes to new ways to collaborate and deliver value that the world is hungering for and needs, and they need it from you. And the only thing that's stopping you is your mindset. And so keep breaking down what you think is possible, what is or isn't, and just go forth and create value and help others. Because what I'm going to do in the world of music and healing this year, I didn't know I was going to do it a year ago. Like I didn't know what's possible this year, last year.
That's awesome.
I thought I knew what was possible. I didn't. I got to a point maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where something hit me and I was like, wait, what? And suddenly an entire new opportunity for music therapy has opened up, and I can't talk about it yet because it's like my little secret toy surprise. I'll be revealing. Yeah. Well, let's have a conversation in a year, and I'll tell you all about.
That sounds great.
Right? Like what happened in the last year and how I was able to reach so many more people. Thank you, technology. Thank you, being around other abundance people. You know, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. So never be the smartest person in the room, and invest in yourself. Like I have 2 coaches. I invested, I don't know, 35 grand in business coaching last year alone. So, and I'll crush the return on investment this next year as a result. And, you know, I don't think music therapists invest enough in themselves, and I don't think they believe enough in themselves. But I'm just kind of, you know, on a roll here, so you can stop me at any point.
I'll probably just let it keep happening. We'll just, you know, people can stay or not. And
that's right. That's right. If you're still listening, good for you. Good for you.
That's great. Oh man. Well, it's probably been about 4 years since you and I last chatted, and I'll be grateful to make that shorter the next time. So let's go ahead and go into our next, these are just, I call it the quick 6. Okay. You don't have to have short answers, but they're just little rapid fire questions.
Right.
First up, pull out your phone, and whether it's Spotify or Apple or whatever, tell us what's your last track that you played.
Okay.
You can elaborate on it if you want, or you can just leave it be.
It's called Skyscraper, I Love You. And it's by Underworld, which is a electronic music duo. And I ran to this in Peters Canyon this morning. It's I like to run to electronic music because of the pulse.
Great.
And my stride just kind of lines up with the pulse, and then I don't even think I'm running. So that's what's fresh on my phone.
Ooh, not that I run a lot, but I really like that Nike Fit Radio app.
What's that?
It's kind of old now. Several years ago, they released this app, and they have playlists based by genre and by BPM and by type of workout and things like that.
Cool.
And what's really cool is a lot of the playlists are like a DJ has put them together, so the transitions are seamless, and it's just I really like that aspect of it. So that's a cool one. If you want to check it out, it's Fit Radio.
Fit Radio.
I think it's by Nike.
Yeah, I'm making a note right now because that's really cool.
Yeah, you would like that. You would definitely like that.
I would.
Next question. You can be as philosophical or as non-philosophical as you would like, but what instrument would you be if you were an instrument?
Oh, what a good question. What instrument would I be if I could be an instrument? Gosh.
I think of it more of like if you were a transformer and you didn't have a choice.
No, that's
what would
funny.
You transform into?
Well, you know what was going through my head as I was considering, like, do I want to be blown, beaten, strummed? That's where my pounded on. Like, that's literally, I was just going down the list. Like my flute. Oh,
some of those are unfortunate.
Yeah, it's blowing a bunch of hot, wet air through me. Ooh, ugh. My guitar. Oh, you're going to be all sweaty with your dirty hands. Oh, your drums. Oh my God, I'm going to be pounded on all the time.
So Tim's going to be a theremin.
For the win, I'm going to be a theremin because I'm mysterious and no one can figure me out.
There it is. Like a 1950s horror movie.
Hilarious. I am a theremin. I am mysterious and no one can figure me out. Yes.
That's awesome.
Have you ever played a theremin?
I've never even seen one in person. I've watched videos. I think they're awesome, but I've never like had the opportunity to see one in real life.
let me just say that someone somewhere had one day, and I think I was in like a old school music store, and I felt like the goofiest guy. I felt like there was a hidden camera on me, and
Like,
they
look
were
at
like,
this dodo. Yeah.
streaming the live feed in China, and like a billion people were laughing at me because I was like, moving my arms in random ways, trying
That's
to,
hilarious.
create sound. And I felt, and especially as a guitarist, you feel so cool with your guitar slung and you've got the grip, and then
Yeah,
the
you're
theremin,
Jimmy Page. Yeah,
right?
you are
Yeah.
Jimmy
And
Page.
the
Yeah.
theremin is like the absolute opposite. It's like I have my arms floating in the air. This feels really goofy, but
I am a human spaghetti noodle right now.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's it.
awesome. Doesn't matter what it is, anything. What's something that's been inspiring you recently?
Ooh, a movie called The Game Changers.
All right,
It's
tell
on
me
it's
that.
on Netflix. It's a documentary. It's about an MMA wrestler or mixed martial
Yeah.
artist who had like double knee injuries,
Ooh.
and so he was trying to figure out how to heal the fastest possible. And all he kept coming across was plant-based diet, plant-based diet, plant-based diet. Your body will heal faster. And as a vegetarian myself, who only eats plant-based protein, and as an athlete, because I'm one half athlete, one half artist, I was so inspired by this movie because it broke down how eating a plant-based diet puts you in peak physical shape as an elite athlete. Like the Tennessee Titans, like 16 guys on their team are vegan.
Mm. That's wild.
Yeah. And the year that they went vegan, they won their division for the first time ever. Like the performance of the human body on plant-based protein, it's a game changer. And like professional teams and athletes are starting to see the difference of recovery time and peak performance. And all the myths we were ever told about animal protein, all myths. All
Wow.
myths. The human body thrives on plant protein. So, that movie blew. And so, like immediately, I upped my game with my own health intake, like what I eat, what I don't eat. And just this past week, like I was like, okay, that's it. There were a couple of foods I was still messing around with, like eggs on the road and bacon on the road. Well, I travel 20 dates a year. That's a lot of eggs and bacon. They're gone. Table salt's gone. Cheese is gone. Like I was so inspired by the movie. It just completely took my intake to a new level.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And the Titans just beat the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, so I guess we'll watch it. So I'm in Kentucky, so there's a lot of chicken, a lot of secret herbs and spices. What's a pro tip or a hack that you practice that you feel like people should know about? Any area of life.
Wow. So many opportunities, but I'll tell you about the one that's worked the most recently for me. You know which apps are crack cocaine for you on your phone. Anybody listening to this right now, there are apps that you reach for mindlessly on your phone when you're stuck in a line or stuck at a light or sitting on the couch when you want to numb out. You know this, man. Take those apps and move them all the way to the fifth screen on your phone. Take them off your home screen, because what happens is you have to mindfully open your phone and scroll 5 times to get to those mindless apps. And I promise you, by the 5th time with your thumb, you know what you're doing and you don't want to do it. And so my screen time has dropped significantly and my play time has gone up significantly since I moved my crack cocaine apps, which for me are Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Messenger. So they are
the usual suspects.
Yeah, of course. They're buried on my phone. And so what I used to do is I would just scroll up, click, and it was so fast that I'd be in the feed and I'd be lost before I even knew it. So a friend of mine at an entrepreneur conference told me that trick, and I was like, that's a good one. I'm putting that one in my pocket, and I can't thank him enough. Thank you, Jason.
Well, you just talked about your healthy diet and your changes. So now I'm going to let you come clean and say, what's your go-to junk food?
Ooh, go-to junk food. Pretzels, if that's a junk food, and pizza. So pizza and pretzels. Like, I'm not vegan because of pizza.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. You have to have some lines in the sand.
I am not going to die on that hill. I tried vegan cheese on pizza, mozzarella, and I was like, I can't do it. So yeah, I like those are the two things that I still treat myself to. And a ridiculous amount of popcorn, way more popcorn than I need, because whoever needs popcorn? But if I'm ever watching a movie, I need to overconsume popcorn. It just makes the movie better.
Yeah, I think it improves your eyesight and your my friend Blake, who has another podcast, the Tone Mob podcast, always dives really deep in pizza. So where is your favorite slice, or what type of pizza? What do you get?
So right now there's a pizzeria in Laguna Beach, California called Slice. And they make the best cheese pizza in California, in my opinion. And growing up in Connecticut, being from New York, like, I know pizza, and the West typically doesn't do pizza very well, but it's been getting better every year. And so if I could go anywhere, like on my birthday, I was on a cleanse, like a 21-day cleanse on my birthday. We still went to Slice. I had a salad, but I did have one of my kids' cheese pizza. I had one slice, even during the cleanse, and it was the greatest. It was so pure. Because if you ever want to find out how good someone makes pizza, have them just sling a cheese pizza, just sauce and dough, and you'll know whether they know what they're doing.
I always get that with the margarita with the basil.
Yes.
I love that, like, pure Neapolitan.
Yep.
All right. Lastly, you already mentioned a lot of awesome projects and stuff, but is there any other person, project, organization that you feel like deserves a shout out?
Gosh, so many things that people are doing that are so amazing. That's a tough one. Because I'm in the recovery world, I got to shout out my buddy Tommy Rosen. It's called Recovery 2.0. And it's an online platform, and it's like Tommy's a yoga instructor who's also like 28 years sober, but Tommy realized that there's a certain level that traditional treatment gets to, and 12 steps included, in terms of addressing certain needs for any of us who want to heal from addiction. But they don't touch on very, very basic principles of health and nutrition and how that impacts addiction. Because sugar is the gateway drug for us.
Goodness. Yeah.
It's a mind-altering substance. Processed sugar is a chemical dependency. You have tolerance issues, you have withdrawal issues, straight up. And so, diabetes and heart disease are leading causes of, illness in our country. So sugar is a major issue. And so Tommy, his platform is amazing for people who may have tried what they think are traditional ways to get sober or stop overeating, and they're just struggling. Go to recovery2.0.com and learn from Tommy. He's a beautiful human being. And I'm proud to call him a friend, but I also call him my teacher. And I kind of have a big head, and I don't call too many people. Like, I'm very selective about like who I learn from, like who's helping me elevate my consciousness and in my life, and I consider him one of my teachers. So Recovery 2.0, there's a way through any obstacle, and Tommy's one of the most inspirational people I know.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm just super grateful for your time. I've already got ideas in my head of not only this secret theremin project you have going on for next year, but no, I think I'm going to get you back on here in the near future, and we'll just talk specifically about sonic recovery, specifically a primer for music therapists on,
that'd be great.
Let's move beyond, a lyric analysis, right?
Yes.
Like let's talk about
the last thing you should be doing is a lyric analysis, because all the other therapists that work at the facility are doing lyric analysis.
Yeah.
So that doesn't separate you as a music therapist at all.
Yeah.
So if you're leaning on lyric analysis, you need to roll up your sleeves and find out what's really possible. And you need to embrace active music making and start making music and getting your clients to make music. That's where the magic happens. So yeah, we can get in with that
would
next
be
time.
great. Because I was telling you before we got on today, I had a small group. It's been a small group. The group has been over 30, but today it was just 4.
Okay.
But you know what was awesome? There was one guy who had been coming who brought his guitar. He got a guitar that finally delivered.
Nice.
And then there was a new guy who the other guy said, I don't have a tuner, but I know somebody who's going to be here in 10 minutes who has a tuner, talking about me. So I show up. 2 guys have a guitar. One guy tells me he sings and writes country music. And then the other guy, who's been the only guy that's been consistent for several weeks. And we did Everlast. We did What It's Like. We talked about their story and their journey. And everybody had an instrument in their hands. And
excellent.
Like I was telling you, I was so pumped to talk today because I was like, man, I'm on this level right now that I'm ready to just get blasted by Tim. Let's hear about it. Like, let's go right in. So we'll do it in a few months whenever you finally have some downtime. We'll set a time that we can talk more specifically about recovery.
Yeah, whenever you want. I'm passionate about that topic, and I'm also passionate now as kind of an elder in the music therapy world about, what I've been doing with thousands of clients at this point, and why I, as a music therapist, like what makes me different from everybody else in the treatment facility. And so there's we can get into the 4 ways to engage it, the 5 clinical outcomes, and for any music therapist who's still listening this far in, please, go get my book and go read it, because it'll be a good review, and I'll talk about why music's powerful in a way that's different than probably the way you talk about it. So it'll give you new language to talk about the benefits of just music. There's a whole chapter just on music therapy. It'll give you a way to talk about what makes music therapy different than music education or volunteer music. So it'll give you language to help you articulate your value. Then I'm going to give you the clinical outcomes of why music helps someone stay sober, so you can sell that why to your clients, why it's relevant. And then I'm going to give you 4 clear-cut ways to engage with music that you can make sessions out of. And then I'm going to issue a challenge at the end of the book that you should do for your own well-being. So even though the book's written for consumers, it's not written for music therapists primarily. It's written for consumers first. A music therapist would get a lot out of the book. Because I'm talking in plain English. It's not like reading a textbook. It's like we're sitting down next to each other, and I'm like, let me break this down for you. Blah, blah, blah.
That's great. So all the amazing things you're doing, where do you want people to find you when they're getting their surfboard out and they're surfing the net, the World Wide Web? Where do they look for Tim?
Well, a couple of places you can go if you're interested, because I'm not sure when the people who are listening to this are listening to it. If you're interested in a free workshop on using music to lower your stress, just go to playmoremusicworkshop.com. Check that out. And then if you're interested in some relaxation music that you can use for yourself or for anybody else, and you want to just learn more about me, you can just go to timringgold.com, and it's TimRinggold.com. And, you can find out everything there is to know about me, and lots of videos and all kinds of resources there.
That's great, man. And one last random tangent. Every time I was driving home from Florida to Kentucky, I passed Ringgold, Georgia.
Yes.
You have no
I've been
connection to that, do you? Yeah, you've been there?
Yes. My family lived in Tennessee briefly when I was a baby. And so somehow, we drove east through Chattanooga and ended up in Ringgold, Georgia. So there's a photo of my dad holding me in front of the town, like the town line.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And then holding me in front of the bank in Ringgold, Georgia. So I remember speaking at the Southeast Regional Conference in 2013, and I got picked up in Atlanta, and they drove me up to Chattanooga. So we drove through Ringgold, and I got to take a picture next to the town sign. as a grown up.
Remake it, yeah.
Which was super cool. Yeah, I mean, the Ringgold name is like, who knows how it ended up there, but that is very cool that you've passed the Ringgold, Georgia sign. So
that's awesome. Yeah, there's a small town of like 400 people that I have not made the pilgrimage to, of Millet, South Carolina.
Yes.
One day I'll go check out the town that I may or may not be related to the train tycoon.
Just go reclaim your town.
Yeah, like this is my place.
I'm back.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm here.
The prodigal child has returned.
I have returned.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, bless all the dear listeners who are still listening.
Right.
We'll make the front and the end of this short, but for everybody who's still here, thanks again. For Tim and for Chris, we're signing off, and just remember, give more grace, share more love, and make more music.
Amen.
So great to catch up with Tim and hear about all the cool things he's doing. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, give us a rating and review. That helps us get bumped up and get seen more while we're still growing. You can follow our Instagram page at make.more.music. You can send guest requests, things you'd like to hear, any comments to makemoremusicpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to call in and leave a comment, I would love to do a Q&A episode soon. You can call our Google Voice number at 502-509-5420. Well, please share this podcast with somebody that you think would love it, enjoy it. And we'll get right back at it soon. Check out our other episodes and follow along to see what comes next. Take care, everybody.